Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, joining me are my three book bloggers, one series read-along co-host, Casey and Nicola. We are discussing the third and final book in our fall trilogy read-along, Wildfire by Ilona Andrews. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction podcast. Join in this book discussion by finding me on Twitter as well as my co-host. Tweet at us using our special hashtag 3bloggers1series. That's using the numeric 3 and 1. Again, it's hashtag 3bloggers1series. If Twitter isn't your thing, no worries. You can join the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official and talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on the book discussion. The links for everything I've mentioned are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with one book nerd friend or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you. Before we get started, I have to issue my standard spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. We've got a fun hour ahead of us, so let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back. We are here talking about the third and final book in the trilogy, which is Wildfire. And joining me as always are the 3bloggers1series read-along co-host, Casey and Nicola. Casey, why don't you start us off with the book stats?
Hey everybody! So Wildfire was first published in July of 2017 by Avon. The book has 391 pages, the ebook is 405 pages, and the audiobook, which is narrated by Renee Rodman, is 12 hours and 44 minutes.
The synopsis, as we do, Nicola, please.
Sure. It says, from Ilona Andrews, #1 New York Times bestselling author, the thrilling conclusion, and editorial aside, it totally was, to her Hidden Legacy series, as Nevada and Rogan grapple with a power beyond even their imagination. Nevada Baylor can't decide which is more frustrating, harnessing her truth-seeking abilities or dealing with Connor Mad Rogan and their evolving relationship. Yes, the billionaire prime is helping her navigate the complex magical world in which she's become a crucial player, and sometimes a pawn, but she also has to deal with his ex-fiancé, whose husband has disappeared, and whose damsel in distress act is wearing very, very thin. Rogan faces his own challenges too, as Nevada's magical rank has made her a desirable match for other primes. Controlling his immense powers is child's play next to controlling his conflicting emotions. And now he and Nevada are confronted by a new threat within her own family. Can they face this together, or is their world about to go up in smoke?
Okay. Let's talk about this book, y'all. There was a lot going on in this book, I gotta say.
Definitely.
There was a lot. Oh, yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Okay, there's so much.
Let's start with Victoria. Let's start with the grandmother.
Oh, man, that grandmother. She is like the worst grandmother you can ask for.
Right. She's such an opposite from the machine oil and gun grandma, whose name is escaping me right now.
She's not maternal at all.
She's a psychopath.
Yeah, she is.
She has no remorse for anything she did to her own son, and to all those people that she wrecked trying to find him. She's just like, yeah, that's how it works. That's I would do it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, when her son fled and she wasn't able to find him, we learned that she pretty much, just went around blasting people's minds, trying to find out where her son went. And when she couldn't find him, she was like, oh, I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't even find him.
Yeah, she's a character. I like how she's portrayed. She's not like a flat villain. She's definitely like completely bad, but she's interesting too. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like there was that one scene where, Nevada basically had to agree to meet with the woman so she would stop coming for her.
Right.
And during this conversation, they kind of have a battle of wills between the two of them. And then finally, when, someone busts in and try to kill her, she actually protects her. She's like, well, you're my granddaughter. What do you expect me to do? I'm not going to let someone else hurt you, but I'll hurt you.
Right,
but I'm not gonna let someone else do it.
Well,
kind
if
of
I let those guys take her, if she let if Victoria let the other group take her, then she's like, I'm not sure that was very familial. I thought it was more like fighting over a possession.
Possibly.
I mean, she says it's because you're family, but like really, it's like, well, if that faction kidnaps her successfully, then I don't get to have her either. So I feel like,
and it also makes her look weak,
right?
Like she can't keep control of her granddaughter.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not just control of her granddaughter. She wants to be viewed as the most powerful, the most feared. She wants that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even in that conversation, I guess she said something like, oh, I guess Nevada says, oh, you're a horrible person or something. Whatever they said Nevada was, when they realized how powerful she was. An abomination. She's like, oh, you've experienced that. Great. Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, like you're as powerful as me. And, she's she welcomes that. She's like, be scared of me.
Yeah.
I'm the best. I'm the most powerful. I'm the strongest. And that's how she wants it to stay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I think Nevada knows that she also has to be strong or she'll be used. So, so she understands the value of that reputation. But it doesn't have to come with cruelty,
Yes, you can be feared and not be a cruel person. It's really people's own interpretation of you, because they know what you can do. Mm-hmm. So I think the threat alone, because Nevada has not proven herself to be crazy at all or like her grandmother at all, but the fact that she's just related to her, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, oh shit, she could do what she does. Oh, get her away from me, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, right. Like when Schaefer, was it David was the first name? When the other truth seeker that wanted to marry her, like, ran away. That was kind of funny.
Which, on a side note, that was the coolest thing that Rogan did.
Yes.
He's like, sure, come on in and watch her break this guy. Come on.
Everybody come watch.
Everybody come watch. And then it's so funny because he's like, he like did that because he knew that Nevada wasn't attracted to him, and now she never will be because he's such a chicken shit. He's like, it was by design.
Not only, but
also the guy wanted somebody weaker than him. Like, he kept saying during their date, like, I'm the most powerful, I'm the best, I need somebody who's as good as I am, but I'm still the best. Right. And Rogan's like, bitch, she's better than you, and I'm going to prove it.
Right.
I'm going to shove it in your face.
During that date, he was making some assumptions, even though he said to her, I don't know if you're more powerful than me, but I think he was just taking it on, GP, that he was stronger. Right.
Yeah.
So, and Rogan knew that. So, yeah, come on in and watch. Come on in. Because he knew he would be intimidated by it.
Yep.
And take off.
Yep. And I loved in that scene how Rogan protected her. Like, everybody else was like, stop her, she's going to burn out, and he's like, nope, she's got it. Nope. She's got it.
She's good.
Stop distracting her.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was an awesome display at the end there. I'm like, man, this woman, she is frightful. If she needs something from you, that is terrifying. It is. I mean,
yep.
You can't keep a secret from her. You will die trying.
Yeah. That was a great scene.
Yeah, it was.
And it very much impressed Grandma Victoria. She's like,
she
yes, you are my granddaughter. Everything is good.
Yeah.
Yes, before she gets carted off to jail, or she's in jail, or wherever the hell they take her. She's like, oh, I get to watch. I'm so excited. This is my spawn.
This is everything I wanted and more.
Yes, which is really creepy, by the way. But
very creepy. Oh my god. The way she made her son was just absolutely terrifying and heartbreaking and like, oh god.
Was this this was a reread for all of us, right?
Yes.
So was I can't remember whether I was surprised about I can't remember where you start to figure out that Arabella is actually another beast of Cologne. When the first time you read it.
Kind of hinted at it before, but this was the first time where you actually like see her in her form.
Right. Mm-hmm. So she shows up in the first book, but they don't describe what she is. They just say like she swoops in and carries off Catalina after she does her thing, but she doesn't fight. She's like a extraction.
Yeah.
So, and they don't describe her form, right? They just say she took care of it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I think I'm having a hard time knowing exactly because I'd read it. I already know what she was, so maybe I was just using my own knowledge.
I think when you read it the second time, when you do the reread, you see all these hints about it throughout the first two books, and this one too, because she talks about reading that book, and she already knew this one story by heart, but you don't know why necessarily. So this is really the book where, like last book, I think you really got introduced to Catalina and what she could do. In this book, you find out what Arabella can do, and Leon too.
And Leon,
I'm so happy that
poor Leon.
Yes, but I'm so happy that there's another trilogy in the works, which we've talked about a little bit. But the reason that makes me happy is not only because I love Catalina, but it makes me hopeful that we'll get stories about Arabella and Bern and Leon too.
Yes, we probably will get some time jumps along the way too, so they can get older.
Right, and I'm really hoping for a novella between Penelope and Hart.
That would be fun.
Because there's definitely something going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, definitely. So, she deserves happiness.
I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
Since you brought up the siblings, I would love to talk more about their powers. Especially like Leon.
Yeah.
Like that kid, man, he was desperate to have a power. He had no clue what it was. And then it kind of like, actually, Nevada's mother knew. Yeah, she knew.
There was that moment where Nevada realized that her mother had to have known a long time ago.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, I can't remember exactly what they called his power, but basically he is like an assassin. And now he's like, I'm going to be the family assassin.
I'm going to be the dark horse. Yeah, and he's so excited.
I'll be the dark horse. No one needs to know.
Yeah, he's not going to register. And because did they talk about dark horses before? I can't remember. I think they did.
I think they did.
If they did, it was in passing.
Yeah, I'm getting a little mixed up with the later books, right? So I think it may have come up more in Catalina's book that came out last fall.
Which, by the way, when I realized we were doing this trilogy, I put the brakes on that book, so I haven't finished it because I didn't want to get confused, so I stopped immediately.
Well, I didn't because I love it too much.
I think they mentioned the dark horse in book 2 when they were talking about all the different families and the powerhouses and what they do, and especially like in relation to Cornelius and how he left his family even though he was still powerful. Like they talked about dark horses before. Okay. I don't know how much more detail they go into in the future books, but they did mention it here.
That sounds right.
Well, this is important for their family, and I think they actually need it. They need him to be the dark horse. And so while he's not like murder happy or anything, it's really smart to have one, especially if he knows he's the perfect person to be that. I kind of thought, oh, wow, he's growing up. Like he wanted to be like Rogan so bad. He wanted to be in the spotlight. He wanted to have an awesome power. And now he's kind of shifted. He's like, I do have this amazing ability, but I'm going to use it to save our family if needed.
Well, he had that moment where he realized, it wasn't a game and he actually just killed all those people and he turned around and threw up because he's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Because he's still, a 17-year-old boy?
Yeah, he's a kid.
He's a baby. Like, he's a kid. He didn't realize that he was killing all these people. He kept thinking of it as a game. And then the one officer came and talked to him about PTSD and the trauma, and then he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to be the family assassin. So it gave him that, direction, and he's not going to go around killing for fun, but to protect his family.
I mean, honestly, I think that was the best idea that Rogan had Nevada take him. She didn't want to, but that saved them. Like, he is the perfect person to have as a wingman because you don't see it coming, and he moves so fast.
You don't.
He killed all those people like in a blink of an eye. It was crazy how fast he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to keep it a secret. I mean, now like several people know that he took down 8 people in the tee box in like 2 seconds. So his idea of remaining a dark horse, there's a lot that could turn into a story there, is all I'm saying. So
yeah, it's probably not a secret you can keep for long.
Well, if he doesn't register and they kind of try to keep it quiet, that maybe, people won't know as much or won't realize how strong he is. And that's where he can keep his dark horse ability, but it will come out eventually, especially if he keeps doing stuff like this, like killing 8 people in 2 seconds.
It'll be a great story.
I think that he could keep it a secret for a long time because, in this book, they went about all the steps to kind of like cover up what actually happened. So we don't know how many people are actually going to see that, but the people who physically saw it are dead in Nevada.
Or they're Rogan's people and they're loyal forever. So.
They weren't there yet.
But they saw the aftermath. They know.
It's on video. They all watched the video.
Right. But they also talked about how they would clean it up. So I feel like the video will certainly not be available.
Oh, definitely.
Well, Lenora knows, and the witness for I forget his name, the older guy that was their witness for the filing of the house knows, and the cop knows. So
what cop?
The cop who showed up right after.
Rogan's man?
No.
Rogan's man.
No.
Oh, well.
Like a Houston PD.
I think he suspects, but he doesn't know, because I was just listening to that. And I feel like, okay, so Nevada was running her mouth before their attorney showed up. It was like, she has nothing to say. Shut up, girl, basically. Stop talking right now. Yeah. So she didn't actually say it. I'm sure he probably has some suspicions, but I don't know if he actually knows.
Yeah, probably not.
He doesn't know how fast it happened, but he sees the 8 corpses.
Yes. You can't hide the corpses. The corpses are there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, I'm just saying, I don't think it's obvious for that cop to just assume that kid did it unless someone tells him or he sees the video. If he doesn't see the video and no one tells him, he could probably make some assumptions, but it's not proof.
Yeah, but he doesn't know for sure. Yeah, right. That makes sense.
Well, I think he'll be back because he showed up in the first book. So there's no reason to bring him into the second book unless he has a role in the future.
I mean, they need allies, so maybe in the future they have some people on the police that they confide in. I guess that's possible.
I mean, once they're officially a house, they don't have to deal with the cops at all. They can just say it's house business and the cops went away.
It's house business, yeah.
Right. I think it's interesting that he showed up again.
Oh, no, it's very interesting. Usually when minor characters show up multiple times, they have a bigger role later, definitely.
Yeah. So, the whole conspiracy thing is basically the magical versus the non-magical. And so this guy is a representative of the non-magical. So I just think that we'll see him again.
Okay, stop talking about stuff you know. Stop it, Nicola.
I don't know that. So I don't know that. It has not happened yet. So I'm speculating. It is not a spoiler, it's a speculation.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Because I'm like, oh.
Stop it. I know I can be bad about that. Sorry, everybody.
So we know that out of everyone after their trials, they have a high significant, they have 3 primes, and we think Leon could be either a high significant or like border, because they're saying he's really high. So they have a lot of powerful people in their house. That's
Mm-hmm.
They're secure in their house. No wonder Tremaine wanted them so bad.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
And they're tied to Rogan forever.
Oh, they are.
Because she announced their engagement in front of everybody, and it was so cute.
It was cute. And I mean, he just told her, don't do it. And she goes, I just saw shock on his face, and I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Like, she got joy out of shocking him like that. It was kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about, like, the other stuff that's going on in the book, like Renda. Man, that woman, oh my God.
I have always depended upon the kindness of others.
Like, shut up, girl. Like, go sit down. Like, take a seat. Like, she really is. Like, Rogan is her plan B, or was, until she realized that he could not be plan B because she just got checked. Okay. Even the grandmother, I think, was like, "You better check that bitch. She trying to steal your man." Like,
right from the beginning, grandma was like, out.
Yeah, the sisters are like, man, she coming for your man. Like, what? Like, oh my gosh. And I did not like her at all. I didn't like her all the way up until the point where she attacked her husband with her power. I was like, damn, that's what you get, man. Mm-hmm. That's what you get.
Yeah, he definitely deserved that.
Yeah.
But still, like, she didn't change because she immediately married the other brother.
Yeah. But she'd been in love with him, or he'd been in love with her.
Yeah, but
it's okay for secondary characters not to grow. Yeah. That's okay.
I mean, she did grow in the fact that she realized that Rogan was not an option, so she finally backed the fuck off because it's not an option. Like, that one scene, it just killed me, like, going through that again, where, you know, they just had sex. And she's like, oh, the kid's crying. I need help. And he actually gets up and goes. I'm like, boy, are you dumb? Are you dumb?
He's very dumb.
And he tells Nevada to just wait for him. And she waits for a while. And she's like, screw this. I'm out of here. It's been an hour. Yep. I'm like, oh, you're so rude. Like, I am not. That's dumb man stuff right there. Like, for real.
I think Renda and Nevada are just so polar opposite. I think that's one function that character had in this book. She's so passive about everything. She wants someone else to protect her for everything. She wants someone else to take care of her. She wants someone else to do all the hard work. And, you know, they both have these sort of mental powers. And I haven't sort of formulated a theory about the empath versus the truth seeking, but I feel like there's some kind of opposing line you could draw between them, because as an empath, they're both kind of sensing things, you know. I don't know, but generally speaking, they're both set up to have. And she's a prime, right? So Renda is. So yeah. So they're both set up to be equally powerful, but Renda has just abdicated and wanted a man to take care of her all the time about everything. And Nevada is the total opposite of that.
Well, it's also unfortunate to hear, like, she essentially on purpose shut down the use of her powers so that she did not have to hear, like, or feel how her husband actually felt about, you know, her and her kids on a daily basis. Like,
yeah.
I can't. I know house politics, power struggle, all of that. It probably is better, you know, from the outside to stay married to him for protection or whatever. But damn, man, I'll make his life miserable.
Oh yeah,
yeah. A lot of the house marriages are, you know, we've seen that set up, that the house marriages are not necessarily about emotions and love, but it's pretty freaking cold to be okay with having your kids executed.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That was horrible. Like, you are okay with having your kids killed, and you're going to kill your wife when it was all said and done. You were going to kill everybody just so you could escape.
Start over.
Yeah.
So you could start over with new kids. I really liked that little sort of. There was a very small part in there where Byrne was like, yeah, he's not a dud.
Yeah.
He's got this pattern recognition thing going on, which I am fascinated by. So I hope even though Byrne is quote only as significant, I hope he gets some page time too.
I don't know. I'd be curious to see how that develops, if it's something else more than that, or if he can use it in a different kind of way. Kind of like how, to me, the Renda thing was a surprise. Yes, she's an empath and can take in feelings, but who knew she could turn them around and push them back out on someone?
I feel like that's probably just a prime thing to be able to do. But yeah.
Well, that's the active field versus the passive field thing, right?
Right. So that makes me think that maybe Byrne has something else we haven't seen.
Absolutely.
That's more active or stronger or whatever.
There was a scene that I highlighted with Byrne in it that I really liked. I thought it was pretty indicative of his character, where they're driving back from the house and Victoria Tremaine calls and sets up the meeting. And Nevada says, do you want me to drop you off? And Byrne says no and pulls out his phone. What are you doing? Texting Bug. I want to know what we're driving into. I want him to get eyes on the restaurant and I want him to get us some backup. So he's taking a lot of initiative there, and he's talking about, and it's his strength because he's talking about information gathering, right? And making sure that there's good backup for Nevada. And Nevada just like runs headlong into everything, right? So I love that Byrne kind of took over and was like, yeah, okay, if you're going to do this, which is crazy, you're not doing it without backup, and here's all the things we need to do. Check. So it was a small thing, but I really thought it was something I like about him.
Oh yeah, no, he's very detail oriented and very much like, we need to have the backup. We need to know what's happening. We need to know everything and not just run headlong in there with our gun the way Nevada does. Yeah.
He's tactical.
Oh yeah, tactical.
He has tactical skill. Yeah.
But I think that was one of the first times that he actually took an initiative where, up to now, he's mostly just been responding to things that Nevada wanted. Like, okay, I'll get you the dossier on this. Okay, I'll look at that bit of homework for Leon and help him. It's been a response as opposed to taking the initiative. So,
well, most of the time he's at school.
Yeah, he's at school or he's behind the computer. So he's not really in the field or driving around with her or things.
It's not a
really. I
just feel like they're bringing him a little bit more into the spotlight, which I love.
Yes, definitely.
I think all of the secondary characters got a lot more face time in this book. All of them, actually. Like, not all of them were main. Obviously, Nevada and Rogan are the main characters, but I feel like all of them kind of got more time to shine in this book. All the family,
even Cornelius,
even the grandmother
and the grandmother. Yeah,
Cornelius. Yeah, even the grandmother. She had a couple of words during the battle.
Yeah,
Usually, she's not a part of that.
You know who had less page time in this book was Rogan, and I thought that was really interesting. He was definitely kind of the backseat driver in this. It was Nevada on her own for almost everything except for the final scene. Right. And they're talking and their relationship is growing, but Rogan is not out there fighting with her. He's like showing up late every time to clean up.
Which I don't hate.
It's because
which I'm not mad about. Don't get me wrong, I'm not mad about it. I like it because, we've talked in earlier podcasts about how we were kind of like, if you had to classify Rogan as a good guy or a bad guy, he kind of straddles the line, but I think he kind of changes in this book from the guy who's always in charge of everything and has to be in charge of everything to an enabler and a helper and somebody that can be a partner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that change is directly from him seeing how powerful Nevada actually is. So before he really had he kind of always knew she was powerful, I think, especially when she started flexing her muscle with him. But I think now he sees how she operates, and he also knows that her family around her are also powerful. He doesn't have to be so damn aggressive because they can take care of themselves for the most part. I mean, I think he's fighting that instinct to try to bubble wrap her and let her do her thing, but he knows she can, so he's purposely kind of suppressing that. And I think that shows growth for him.
Oh, he definitely wants to bubble wrap her. He said if he could find the bulletproof kind of bubble wrap, he would wrap her up.
Yep.
Yeah, but he knows he can't.
He can't. It would break her. Like, that's not who she is. And I think
he would lose her if he tried it, and he knows it.
I think he really learned that with Rina, however you say her name, because,
Rinda.
you know, she kept throwing herself on him and like, save me, the way he wants to be wanted, like, especially in the first book where he's like, I have to come in and save you. But then he'd look over at Nevada and she'd be covered in blood and like, yeah, I killed the guy. I'm good. And he's like, no, you're what I want. So it was that stark comparison for him to say, this is what I think I want, but this is what I really want. And that kind of, you know, they're polar opposites. And Nevada's not.
See, I didn't even think that Rogan considered Renda at all. I think he was just being like a dumb guy and not seeing what she was trying to do because he wasn't thinking about her
well,
like
not
that.
necessarily thinking about her like that, but, you know, he was always the big, powerful guy. He was always the one people depended on. He was always the one in the midst of the battle. And he's probably only mostly seen women or other primes who need him the way she did. Whereas Nevada comes in like all of his loyal workers who were with him in the jungle. And she's like, yeah, I can kick ass. I can defeat my enemies. I don't need you this way. And he had to like see that stark comparison and take that step back while still, you know, wanting to wrap her up in bubble wrap because he doesn't want her hurt.
You know, I think that's really the underlying trope under almost all sort of alpha hero romances, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's different kinds of romances, but the particular kind where we've got this super powerful guy, whether he's a billionaire or Navy SEAL or whatever makes him powerful, and he's used to sort of running over everybody around him, and then he meets somebody who can stand up to him and who is, in fact, an equal. And it's not just about, like, I'm not afraid of you, but I could actually go toe-to-toe with you, and I am actually your equal. And their arc, the hero's arc of accepting that and being able to be interdependent instead of being the one that everybody depends on. And, you know, I think there's a little of that in Nevada too, because she's been the one the whole family's been relying on for a while. And now she's starting to see the potential in the rest of her family. She sees that Rogan helps her, and she has trouble with that. And she eventually learns to accept that help and to work together and to leverage both of their strengths, you know? So I think Ilona Andrews, the team is particularly good at that. They take these two super independent people, put them together, make them uncomfortable, and then they figure out that, you know, not only are they in love and they want to have all the emotional stuff, but they have to figure out personality-wise that they can work together and they can be a team.
Yeah.
You know, these kind of pairings, it gives me faith that two alphas can be together.
Yes. Definitely.
And that was my favorite. Can I bring in another book? That was my favorite Melina Singh book was, and the titles escape me, but it was the Mercy and I'm forgetting the other name, but they had an alpha from the leopards.
Riley.
Yes.
Riley. His name is Riley.
Yes, they had an alpha from the leopards and an alpha from the wolves, and they put them together, and they very explicitly said they're both alphas, and usually that doesn't work, and they made it work, and I just love that. That was my favorite of the whole series because of that specifically.
That is also what makes these kind of relationships so fun to read, because there is that tug of war at times, but then there, you know, sometimes one concedes, sometimes the other, and it's kind of like a balancing act because they're both alpha personalities, and I think that's what makes it more fun than any kind of three-way situation. I'd rather this any day.
Yeah, and neither one of them ends up being, okay, I'm going to be the one that stays home and does the housework. You know, they work it out and they become more equal. And if I can bring up like another weird example, I one of my friends who is gay was talking about his relationship with his partner, and it was funny, but it never really struck me. You know, I said very jokingly, "Well, who's the wife?" Right? And I have the relationship with him where that was not going to be offensive to him, but it really made me think, like, wow, when you don't have those roles pre-assigned, and it's just up for based on the individuals and how they relate with each other, and who's better at what and who cares about which things. It's really surprising how it was an eye opener to me how much I still make assumptions based on gender.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know I don't do that because I'm the alpha, so I know wholeheartedly.
I feel like that too, but it still is there in the back of, it was still there in the back of my mind, I guess, where I felt like one person had to do all of this kind of thing and the other person would do most of that kind of thing, and then they sort of negotiate, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can just be, these are all a whole list of things that need to happen, and who does them. It's not like this is a kind of, this is housework and this is breadwinning, and, you know, I don't know. So maybe I'm just rambling now. Sorry.
Yeah.
And bad.
It's okay. It ties in. We get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what else should we cover? I feel like we got a lot of the relationship stuff. We got the powers.
Well, let's talk about Brian, the kidnapped husband.
So back to David Sherwood. Let's talk about David Sherwood, bad guy.
That kind of guy, like, honestly, knowing how he felt about me and my kids, and then knowing like he wanted to get away from that, man. I don't know how they had kids, because it's dry as a desert, dude. Dry as a fucking desert.
And everybody wants to feel desired at some point, so if he felt desire, she'd be attracted to it, I guess.
I don't know, but he's
well,
the worst.
I don't know if that he was quite that terrible before the kids were born, right? Because he was still hoping for powerful offspring.
It's crazy the lengths that he is willing to go through to avoid a damn divorce.
I know.
Well, because of his brother. Like, so not only is he trying to avoid a divorce, he's trying to avoid work, right? His brother told him that if you divorce her, then I'm stepping down and you'll have to do work. And he's like, ew, I don't want to do that.
That's dumb as fuck. If I were him, I'd be like, fine, I need out of this shit. I don't care. I'll do the work. But, you know, he is like such a creep in so many ways. Like, he's lazy. He's a coward. He's like all the bad stuff, like, muddled together.
Yes.
Yep.
Weak. Weak as weak.
So weak.
Total weak sauce. So that's, you know, those of us who are reading these kind of books, like even Vincent, I'd rather have Vincent than David, right? Vincent at least cares about stuff, and like, is he a psychopath? Yes, but is he powerful?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And theoretically, David is too, but we never see it, right? He's a prime, but what do we see? We just see stuff that he has done, making all these mushrooms grow or whatever. And his brother, Edward, you know, comes through in the battle, right? And he does stuff. But David is like, never does anything in the whole book. You never see him acting. No. I wonder whose hero.
No, he's very passive.
Yeah, he's just lazy.
He's passive aggressive and lazy. And, you know, if they hadn't approached him, how long would it have been until he did something? Because he couldn't go out and find an assassin because he was scared it'd be traced back to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't work, so
I wonder why he didn't have an affair. Like, are children from an affair not part of your house? I don't know how that works. But
no,
like, if you
I don't think so.
If you have a child out of wedlock and they're a prime and you're a prime and your legal children are, you know, less powerful, like, that'd be an interesting political. I don't think that comes up in the story. So
now, see, that is, I think, an interesting take, because clearly having, you know, a lover or whatever on the side is norm for these kind of relationships. You know, because Nevada expressed she didn't want that, she couldn't have that, whatever. But you never hear about kids out of wedlock, so maybe they just know they are going to sleep with other people. They're going to have side relationships, but you do everything in your power not to get pregnant by these other people. So you are extra careful, maybe.
Right. Well, in the previous books, when they talked about it, the marriages were all about the genetics, and then the affairs
And
were
the
more
babies.
about and but the
Personal
affairs were more
fulfillment.
about or even social advancement, right? But
Right.
but
For that matter, you don't want kids with the guy you're having the affair with. You don't want to
yeah,
muddy
because
the
if
water.
you're not a genetic match, but what if you
Right.
think that you have a better chance of having a powerful child outside of your marriage? That'd be that they haven't addressed that.
That'd be
So
interesting.
yeah. Are you listening, Alona and Gordon? So, because that's an idea you could. Just saying, you can have that one for free.
But I mean, but the way the house structures are so rigid, and the way the whole, I guess, community is formed, about the whole house rules and house business. I mean, it doesn't seem like, even if you might have a better match with someone else, it seems like you wouldn't want to cross that line, because no one wants to get divorced. They'd rather kill you than get divorced. So, I don't know. I just can't imagine. Even if it could be a better match, I think they just say, well, the match is made.
Yeah.
I think there was a comment in one of the earlier books, I think, about one of the European families having a bunch of offspring, but I could be wrong. It was in passing. Maybe it was in the novella, because they talk more about the European houses there. But
yeah, I don't remember it so long ago.
Okay.
The novella anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll stop talking about that. It's an interesting side journey, right? Tangent.
Yes.
That's what's so great about these worlds. They feel so real. You're like, I'm always speculating about, well, what about this? And it doesn't occur to you like, well, then Gordon and Alona would have to figure that out and make it up. Like, no, there's something there.
Yeah.
Like, how would it be? Because there's rules, and you could just imagine all these different things happening that aren't part of the actual text.
But I gotta say, I thought that was pretty cool that the brother offed his, deceitful brother. In the end, he just went right up and just stabbed him in the gut. You're done.
With a sword, like at night.
Yes.
And then he was like, our house business is concluded.
Right.
It's over.
Thank you very much. We're done here.
Yep.
I feel like even more happened in this book, but I don't know what, if that makes sense.
It was a long book.
As I was reading it, I was like, this is intense and there's so much going on. And now I'm like, well, what else did we talk about? Or what haven't we talked about yet?
Well, there was the case with Rinda and the Sherwoods, right? And there was the, which led to the big confrontation with the bigger arc with the Weather Mage. And there was also Rogan and Nevada's relationship. There was introductions there was more page time for Byrne and Leon and Arabella. I think Catalina had a similar role as in the last book, right? She kind of came in and helped.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say she changed a lot between the two books. I'm still fascinated.
Well, it's not her time to change.
No, it's not. But
she comes later.
I'm just saying, things that were new and the things that were going on in this book that weren't before.
Yeah.
So we see Byrne actually solves the mystery, right? So with the paintings at the end.
Oh yeah.
And so I think it's 400 pages, so it's another like 50 or 60 more than typical for this kind of book. So I think there is a lot going on, and then there's the trials at the end. Let's talk about the trials. What did you guys think?
I thought it was awesome.
I love the trials. Yeah. It was so exciting. I feel like, and Arabella, man, oh my God. I relate to her in so many ways, because her trial was, okay, we're going to test your reason. And they're like, we're going to do it with math. And she's like, for real? Like math?
Have to be math.
Write a damn report or something? And I mean, not even being funny, math, I was the worst at math.
Me too.
And so she does all that work on that last problem, and then she's like writing like "screw you" or whatever on the chalkboard, and then she gets the wrong answer, and they're like, "Oh my God, They're like, look, let's just accept it. We'll be here all night.
Yeah.
So funny. I'm like,
Well,
oh.
I gotta say, maybe it was on the E version, but that last problem made no sense. Like, that was not math. That was not fractions. It was not exponentials. I don't know what that was. So maybe it came out funny on the ebook, but I don't know what they were looking for on that either. And dudes, I took a lot of math. So that was a little weird to me, but yes, I'm a nerd. Sorry. But
yeah, no, I was sitting there using my fingers too, like trying to count it out with her, and I was like, nope, I would fail.
Yeah,
I would get the wrong answer.
I'm like, not math. Like they're going to instantly say I'm not a prime because I can't do the math.
Well, with hers, I think it was less about like transforming into the beast is a prime skill, makes her a prime no matter what. The test was whether she could be
herself.
Whether she was allowed to not go to prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because
how much reason and control does she have as the beast?
Yes. So that was really.
I don't know if it was prison, but I think it was.
Oh yeah.
I know that they're. Okay. Well, I thought it was not like maybe psych ward or whatever they did with that other woman who was a beast and couldn't control herself. She wasn't in jail. She was just like.
No, they kind of locked her away and kept her sedated, which is why she was able to give birth to their father.
Right. But I think
Victoria took over. But
that could be anything but prison. That could be like just a government dark site. It could be a psych place.
That's all prison.
I guess, but
in prison.
I guess technicalities, fine.
Okay. So locked up.
You just get locked away.
Locked up away from everybody and everything, and like might as well just be executed. Maybe even like experimented on. So blah. So that was.
But she passed with flying colors, so she's safe.
Mm-hmm.
Happy ending so far. Yeah, she had a great scene when she came down and took care of that arcane monster on the interstate. Like, and they made sure to mention there were dozens of cell phones recording. Like, okay, she's not going to hide anymore.
Yeah, but that's also kind of cool that because their trials were sealed, yes, a handful of people know. But if they follow the rules, like when they yanked that other guy away for interfering with the trials, right? If they follow their own rules, I mean, obviously she'll be outed. You know, they'll know it's her eventually, but she's kind of safe for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
she's their other black horse right now.
Well, not really, because she's registered.
She's registered, but no one's actually. Well, I guess they can put two and two together. Just that's her.
I would think. I mean, the houses have access to all those registries, right? So within the world of the mages, people are going to know what she can do.
Well, only so far, because remember with the registry, you can request, but you have to say, okay, give them my stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
so they get to see, I think, what they're registered as. Like, okay, if you're a true seeker, you show us a true seeker, but all the details of your business, you have to approve someone to see it.
You can either send them the basic or the very detailed thing.
Right. That's the genetic.
Even then.
That's the genetic stuff. But in the houses, they register their talent and their level. Right? That's
right.
Appears to be public information. So,
it is.
So if they say she's a beast of Cologne and she's a prime, that's not a dark horse. The dark horse is when they don't.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
The dark horse is when they don't go and have a trial and they just stay off the registry, off the house registry, not necessarily genetic.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think the people who are reading it right now are very lucky, because when I read it and the PR was saying this is the end of the series, it was very disappointing for me because I wanted more. I really, really wanted more. And the scene was awesome. I loved it, but it felt like, because it came right after the big battle scene, which was really the climax of the story, that this part felt a bit of a, I don't know if the letdown is the right word, but it really felt like an afterthought almost.
It wasn't completed. Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's so interesting. Like, oh,
And that's why I said it didn't feel like the end to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's not. So we're all happy. But when I read it, it was supposedly the end, and the trials especially made me want so much more in this world, and to know more about Arabella and more about the other sister, and they kind of skipped over Burns' trial. They just gave the outcome. So I think that the seeds are there, but not necessarily. It's also set up to be maybe we just won't do that one, because he's a prime, and we didn't go into a lot of detail, but I really liked Byrne.
I love Byrne. I would love to get a story for him.
I hope so.
We talked about the others' trials. We didn't talk about Catalina's trial.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty awesome.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
The way that she goes about, like, kind of disarming him, asking him regular questions, like, kind of like seeping in there on the sly. And then before you know it, a prime has moved over the line and he went for her. But the best part was he was able to shake it off. I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, which bothers her.
Yep.
I mean, so she's so freaked out about him. You remember that scene in the middle where he follows her on Instagram and she deletes her account?
Oh my God, she flipped out. She just deletes the whole account. I'm like, what is wrong with you, girl? That is a teenager for you. Like, really?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so I like that. So yeah, all their trials were really fun to read, I think. I do think, like you guys said, we kind of got the short end of the stick with Burns' trial, but I think we'll learn more about him later. We'll see more.
He's such a good hero material. I can't wait to read about him, and I'm just going to assume that eventually they'll get to him. So,
I hope so.
Talking about time jumps, right? So they could do Catalina, and then they could go to Byrne because he's older, so they don't have to wait like 6 or 7 years for him to be an actual adult.
Yeah.
No.
But anyway.
No. Okay.
So yeah, I love the scene, but I felt like it was placed kind of funny right there at the very end, and we don't really see much that happens after the trial, and I don't know. It didn't feel exactly like series baiting, but it really definitely made me want more in the world.
Well, what about the final scene with Victoria in her prison cell outside with the flowers and whatnot, and the mystery man?
Yeah, that definitely was like, okay, you can't end it like that. Like, okay.
Yeah, that was definitely series baiting. I think.
Yeah, that was the series bait right there. That was the, like, we're not actually done.
Yeah. Do you want more or not? No, that was good. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. It was very, I don't know, classic cliffhanger, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any guesses as to who he was, or who Caesar is?
I think it's gonna be somebody that we've not seen before.
Yeah, I agree.
I hope so.
I agree. It's going to be, I mean, honestly, with how long these little arcs of different stories, it could just go on and on. It could be a long time before we figure out who this is.
Yeah, and remember, this is all just Houston, right? So this Caesar movement could be bigger than it's more about the United States, I think, and maybe, I don't know about the world, but it's changing the House, non-House political balance of power.
But I mean, with the foreshadowing, even between Catalina and Old Boy, I mean, this could become an international thing real fast. I mean, and if we look ahead to the books, we know Catalina gets a trilogy. So I think this could become an international incident. Who knows?
They've already brought in, like, the Weather Mage character was Nigerian, I think. So
yeah,
fun times.
Which was super cool. I liked her too. She didn't have a whole lot of page time, but she was manifesting her powers by dancing. I thought that was kind of a neat little sidebar.
Yeah, I thought it was not enough. I feel like they just kind of threw her in there. Like, yeah, we know that Rogan went down to, try to work with them or get them on his side and all this other stuff. But, it was interesting. It was a little peak. I mean, I was definitely
intrigued.
Not satisfied with what we saw from her. We need more, a lot more.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up on an hour. Let's rate them.
Okay.
Nicola, you want to go first?
6.
6, okay. 6 out of 5 again. Woo!
I love this trilogy.
Okay, how about you, Casey?
I'll give it a 5 out of 5. I love this trilogy so much, and I love it every time I reread it. And I know I'm going to reread it again in the future and love it just as much. So yeah, 5 out of 5.
I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I really liked it. And actually, it's funny. I looked at my last rating. I gave it a 4 first time too. I really liked it. I think the world and the magic is easy for people to understand and keep track of, which is excellent. Mm-hmm. So I think even people who aren't huge fantasy readers could enjoy this series and not feel like overwhelmed because it's too much fantasy or too complicated. And I definitely recommend the series. I just feel like I didn't feel as excited at the end of this as I was in the previous installments. So
yes.
But it left me wanting more. So wonderful
Yay.
Stuff.
Read it. Everybody should read it.
Okay. So for you guys, we have a couple of announcements before we sign off for the day. We're going to blast through these so we don't keep you too long past an hour. But we do want to start off with letting you guys know that there is a giveaway right now. It's currently running. And you want to enter this because this is going to be the next series we're going to read in January. So there's a giveaway for the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost on shelfaddiction.com. You need to go there to see the details. You can win the series in either ebook or MP3 download. And there will be 3 winners.
That's amazing.
3.
Yes. That's so generous.
Yes.
Thank you, Janine.
Thank you,
yes,
Janine.
Thank you, Janine. So you guys want to get in on that because we're going to read those starting in January, and you want to be one of the lucky 3 that get all of the books. So you don't have to buy them. Let's see. What else? There was one more thing, right? Or was that it?
I think that's it. Just the giveaway.
Okay.
And that we're reading it.
Right. So kind of skipped over the part where guess what our next series is?
Oh, well, yeah. Oops. I told you what it is.
Yay! Cat and Bones. I'm so
Cat and
excited.
Bones. Cat and Bones are the best. I love them.
It's such a fun series.
It is. So we are shifting from magic wielders to vampires and other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
But mostly vampires.
Yeah, mostly vampires. So get ready. It's an adult series. If you guys aren't familiar, we're reading another adult series. So we get to have some sexy time and some more adult themes. So it's good.
Chapter 32.
All right, see you then. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
The infamous.
So yeah, you guys get excited. You guys don't want to miss out on this. Enter the giveaway. If you don't win, buy all the books because you'll love
so
them.
Good.
You'll be happy you bought them.
Or library.
Yep. Actually, by now, you guys would have heard in the group. So this is a reminder for you. And if you're not in the group, this is new to you. So you should join the group. Shelf Addiction Official, so you know ahead of time. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Yes, happy reading. And we will see you in 2020. Woo!
Woo!
Woo! Okay, take care, everybody. If you enjoyed today's book chat episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review. You can follow me on Twitter at Shelf Addiction. Most importantly, you can share this podcast with friends and family that enjoy all things bookish, including author interviews. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.